Hello everyone and welcome back to this YouTube channel. Today I don't really have anything planned, so I thought it would be fun to go back in time a little bit and take a look at the final episode of my favorite podcast, the Gus Eddy podcast, and just see what went wrong and what people are saying about it. So let's just get started. I hate when they skip this many weeks. It's a good joke. Missing the days when Gus's biggest allegation was booger wall. Me too. This genuinely broke me for a while. No goodbye, no finale. My favorite time of the week just evaporated in front of me. It sucks. Yeah, it does suck, but I wouldn't say it was my favorite time of the week, even though it was my favorite podcast at the time, at least. Yeah. Just like that, it's all over. It's like watching parents get divorced. Yeah, I don't think Gus and Eddie will ever be friends again. It's unfortunate. This one hurts, man. It really does. Like a lot. I wouldn't say it hurts. It just annoying because I prefer Eddie Burback in like a podcast format. So, and I like Gus when he does like commentary videos and he's in like long form videos. So like I think if they're not going to make a podcast together, they should at least like Eddie can make a podcast with his brother and then Gus can just do like a solo podcast, or he could start a new podcast with a new co-host. So yeah. Rest in peace, the pod. Terrible circumstances, but this show gave me so much joy. Yeah, me too. Hearing them make plans and knowing it was probably one of the last times they'd ever arrange plans together again, is kind of heartbreaking. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is heartbreaking. I really did enjoy their friendship. Um, And yeah, it was probably the last time they'd ever arranged plans together because I think Eddie Burback, he cut off Gus Johnson like completely, which is kind of a shitty thing to do, but again, I don't know how evil Gus Johnson is behind the scenes, so yeah. Fuck, man. This podcast was that one comfort in such a stressful world. Just chill for an hour with the boys. It's a damn shame. End of an era. All those inside jokes, the classic bits, the hilarious moments. It's been a pleasure experiencing it all with you guys. Let's see what else there is. Anyone else here to leave their condolences to the podcast? Yep. It's been a good run, boys. Makes me want to cry, honestly. This podcast provided me with so much relaxation and great experiences. I will forever miss this. Okay, it wasn't that good. To the point where, like, you'd cry about it. Like, I miss the Gus and Eddy podcast as much as the next guy, but you won't catch me crying about it. This hurts so bad, not because of some parasocial relationship bullshit. I just thoroughly enjoyed the pod. It's the only podcast I've ever watched, not listened to. I'm not an audio listener, I swear, that I would immediately put on as soon as it came out. Gus and Eddie got me through some tough times and gave me some belly aching laughs. Appreciated the content, boys. After listening to the podcast for the last 2 years straight, it's weird to see it all end like this. Damn. I'm sure that many of you feel the same, but I need to post this. I'm going to miss this podcast. For 3 years, this was my safe space to go to, just to relax and not think of real life for a bit. It also helped me fall asleep for the longest of times when I was having mental issues during the first few months of the pandemic. This honestly feels like losing a close friend. I hope they'll be back one day, and I also hope Sabrina, Eddie, and Gus are surrounded by supportive people and manage to heal properly. I don't know about that. Like, I'll just move on. I have a bad feeling about the future of this podcast. Man, I don't think I've ever mourned the loss of a channel or podcast before, but this one really hurts. This podcast has brought me so much joy over the last 2 years, and it felt like one of the few safe, chill places left on the platform. It sucks that it's coming to such an abrupt end, even if it needs to happen under the circumstances. Despite my disgust with Gus's behavior behind the scenes, I'm grateful the podcast happened and made an impact on so many people for all this time, and I really wish Eddie the best moving forward. What, you don't wish Gus the best moving forward? What's wrong with you? You're not a true fan. I'm still so sad about this. What sucks is that I can't even rewatch old episodes without being uncomfortable or sad that these two are no longer on speaking terms. That is bizarre, isn't it? That they're no longer on speaking terms? I always, I would pay to see, Gus run into Eddie in public. That would be hysterical. I wonder what they would say to each other, because they probably haven't spoken in 2 years, so that would be really awkward. But yeah, I said this before in a previous video, but I don't really rewatch YouTube videos, but I have Gus and Eddie not being friends anymore, that doesn't really affect my ability to rewatch old episodes of the Gus and Eddie podcast, so yeah, it doesn't make me uncomfortable or sad. So yeah, I just don't relate to this commenter. On the bright side, Gus doesn't need a camera person anymore. Just coming here to tell my boys goodbye, and it was great to know this community. I love y'all, and I hope we see each other again one day. I mean, yeah, there's so many podcasts out there. I wonder where the Gus and Eddie podcast community flocked to immediately after. I think some good alternatives to the Gus and Eddie podcast is the Sad Boys podcast and the Tiny Meat Gang podcast. I think if you're looking for a new podcast, you should check those out. I think we'll be getting the Blank and Eddie podcast much sooner than any of us were expecting. Yeah, I don't know why Eddie doesn't start a new podcast. I think maybe it's out of respect to his former friendship with Gus. I don't know his thought process on that. But he could totally start one alone or with his brother, so yeah. Here lies my weekly comfort. I refuse to believe the Sven call wasn't planned. Holy shit, their comedic timing was unbelievable. I can't believe Gus didn't say we'll go from parasocial pals to a pair of social pals. I had a gut feeling to come back. Miss this community, guys. I hope all of y'all are doing well. Yeah, I'm doing well. It's not like anyone asked, but I mean, I guess this guy asked, but not really. Really bummed that Gus got rid of the makeout with Gus Johnson for 5 minutes tier for this tour, but I guess we all have to make sacrifices with COVID. I, no joke, totaled my truck about a week ago while listening to your podcast. Give me a trophy. That's insane. Hey guys, love the podcast. Can't wait for the sequel, the Gus and Eddie podcast 2, the Sven and Tony podcast. I don't really like when Gus and Eddie have guests on the podcast. I think those are the weaker episodes, except for the one with Drew Gooden. But yeah, 3 years, man, damn. Shame to see it go out like this. Can't wait to see what Eddie does next. And Gus too. You don't have to leave out Gus just because he's a abuser. Man, No, that's not funny. I just don't think he, like, maybe he, like, verbally abused her, but he didn't physically abuse her, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I can't wait to see what Gus does next, too. I mean, it's been 2 years. I've already kind of seen what he's done next, and his content is pretty much the same as it's always been. He hasn't really been doing commentary videos, though, as much as he used to. I think he should go back to that. But yeah, other than that, like, Eddie Burback, he's been doing well, too. I know I clowned on him, like, in my commentary channels are boring video, but yeah, he's really taken his channel to new heights. This podcast helped me through so much. I'm very disappointed. Same. Here lies the Gus and Eddy podcast. Gus feels like a drunken dad whom we all love in a way, but we are disappointed in, and who is tearing the family apart. That's a good way to put it. An end to a beautiful era. This podcast brought me so much joy, and I'll miss it a lot. Let's see. You know, a while ago, Eddie was saying how Tony is the funniest in their friend group. Just by the way he edits the end of the podcast, I can see how that's true. Keep it up, Tony. Ouch, gonna miss this community. Always such lovely people. It's a shame it had to end like this. Love to all my boys. As silly and funny as it sounds, the woman getting scammed by someone who said they are Lionel Richie makes me genuinely really sad. My mom works with mentally ill people and has told me about multiple clients who have been scammed in the same way, and it is honestly so disgusting. They end up in extreme debt, all while being in love with this person who inevitably will ghost them, leaving them lonely, humiliated, brokenhearted, and unable to pay for themselves. I really hope she didn't end up sending the money. Wishing that woman the best. Okay, that's kind of irrelevant to the theme of this video, but it's relevant probably to the final episode, which I don't really remember. I should probably rewatch it. Man, this really hurts. Hang in there, everyone. Boys support boys. It feels like 2 years since this ended. That's funny. Because it has been 2 years. For me, this was something I listened to every single week. My days at work were significantly better when I got to listen to these episodes, and I was beyond sad to see the end happen. I will miss one of the funniest podcasts I've ever listened to. Rest in peace. Can't wait for the next Eddie podcast, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I've already said this, but sorry. I really do think that Gus and Eddie should start a new podcast separately. I would watch both of those. Anyone still here? I miss this podcast more than anything in my life. Sorry, excuse me. I feel like I lost a friend, but not to death. Same. Actually, not same. Yeah, I'm not parasocial like you guys in the comments. The fact this very well could be the last episode really hurts. Just an hour a week where you could just sit and listen to a couple boys just talk. If it is done, I'm glad I was here. This podcast gave me comfort on my long midnight walks, made me laugh and forget about my troubles. I'll miss it a lot. All good things come to an end. It may not seem that fair to you, but it is the start of something new. I love you, boys. Love you too, man. This is the podcast I listen to fall asleep on long drives back and forth from college and home. Yeah, I watched it in college too. I showed my boyfriend this podcast on road trips. Oh, this is a girl. Surprised to see a girl watching the Gus Eddy podcast. Um, I show my boyfriend this podcast on road trips and vacations that will be part of my memories forever. Literally was given a Gus poster for my birthday last year. I want to see what that looks like. We need to all take a step back and really think about who we're letting become idols to us with the true colors that a lot of influencers have shown in the past year or two. I'm starting to think we shouldn't let ourselves be influenced by any of them. Much love to Eddie and Sabrina. I'm so sorry to both of you. Well, you should be sorry to Gus too, because, like I said in one of my previous videos, but Gus Johnson lost literally everything. Like, he's got, like, no YouTube friends now. Yeah. But neither do I, so. Rest in peace, the potential Mario Kart tournament. Yeah, I remember that. I rarely comment on YouTube anymore, but this podcast has been such a safe and calm space for me throughout every struggle over the past 2 years. As devastating as it is to see the podcast go, maybe the real meaning was the boys we made along the way. Podcast is gone, but boys are forever. Boys are not forever. I hope Eddie and Sabrina are surrounded by love and support at the moment. All this shade towards Gus. Like, goddamn. Wow, I thought after the accident the show would just be done, but the CGI was great and Tony did a fantastic job with the voice acting. I just got a text message. This is my favorite podcast for so long. It gave me a lot of comfort when I felt lonely, and it felt like I was with the boys when I listened. The intro music is so painfully nostalgic, it makes me want to cry. Okay, chill out. Yeah, I mean, the Gus and Eddy podcast theme song is like not nostalgic to me because it kind of got ruined for me when I heard it being played in other things. So yeah, I don't know if that matters. None of us will ever know the full details, but it would be nice to see these guys even recognize each other. They won't. Forgiveness is a beautiful thing, but again, I don't know what Eddie knows. Regardless, I miss it. Forgiveness is a beautiful thing, and I think Eddie should forgive Gus. Yeah, the same way I would love to see Frenemies return. Yeah, but that's never gonna happen, so. I guess all those yikes hoodies have a whole new meaning. Yeah. And to think they almost got Matthew Lillard on the podcast. Is that true? And Conan, yeah. Damn, that would have been cool. Oh well, I guess. Funniest part of this episode is when I didn't know my computer was muted and I thought they were doing a silent intro as a bit, which would be hilarious. Rest in peace, Gus and Eddy podcast. Now it really is the And Eddy podcast. Okay, it's not like Gus died or anything. Thanks for getting me through most of my undergrad career. I hope the best for Sabrina. Thermal/rooming darkening curtains are pretty helpful in keeping the heat at bay a bit. It's a little expensive. Probably about 30 to 60 per window, depending on the size of the window. But I did both my bedroom and living room, and it helped a lot. Okay, that's not relevant at all. Wow, this one hurt a lot. Things that feel illegal. An apartment not accommodating a tenant when their AC breaks in 90-degree weather. I think I only have time for one more comment. Eddie, I'm going to miss your energy on this podcast so much. Your bits and jokes and all-around attitude have helped me through a shit ton of hard life stuff. Okay, this comment's too long. I'm just going to skip it. I'm pretty sure Gus was the one that did the booger wall. Okay. Alright, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.